Well, it's evening for me, but probably a lot of different times for you. I think JP, you're quite late right now, I presume. But welcome to the channel, guys. This is a little bit of a special one. JP came to me just sort of mentioning, hey, I want to get some word out on Quopi victims and give some information. So I very quickly said yes, sure, when, and let's get this done. So for those of you who don't know him, I'd like to give him a chance to sort of introduce himself, and then we'll go through some things as to what kind of action can be taken to help. I'm going to leave JP to doing most of the conversation here. If I see some questions from the audience, or if I have some of my own, because I'm curious about ways to hopefully help protect people / help people that get into these kind of troubles. I know we've seen it time and time again, especially during the bull run. But this one here was one that lasted a pretty darn long time, and unfortunately was shilled towards the end in a very aggressive way by many people. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people got in at the end before they pulled the rug from underneath everybody. So JP, if you could maybe just introduce yourself first. I did put some links below the description that just go through, and I guess you'll talk to those in a moment, and I'll just let you go from there.
Yeah, sure. So once again, thanks. And, the purpose of this session for me is to try to just reach as many Quopi victims as possible and say, look, there's a couple of different options here. So yeah, a little bit of background about me. I've been in crypto probably about 2.5 years now. And very early on, it was coined, pardon the pun, but it was coined Rugsember, which was the December of 2021. And it was literally the height of the bull run. In fact, just started to peel back toward the bear market that we had there. But I was taken away by how many rug pulls there was left, right, and center. And I was surprised that people couldn't see that these rug pulls are going to happen, because one of the things I learned early on is how to check smart contracts. Not necessarily how to read the code and things, but just understand what some of the functions are, what control the team has over the funds and things. So I started to teach that with community members, and I literally struck up a Discord server, had me in it, and that was it. But people started slowly coming in over time, and there's about 1,200 people in there now. But essentially, we provide right now, we do a lot of crypto investigations, whether that's public investigations like this particular case, or we do a lot of private investigations for clients on all sorts of different cases. It's crazy, to be honest, what we get into. But we're also building something called Armored right now, which aims to be the gold standard for project security. End-to-end security is how I like to phrase that. And that's really not just looking at the smart contract audits, not just looking at liquidity, multi-sigs and things, but it's everything in the project, from right the way from design through to social media, security, all the way through to even preventing attacks. We can do that as well. We've formed some great partners, and that's going to get launched in Q2, and there's some information on the website about that as well. So that's nice. A little bit about me, and I guess I can just give a quick introduction to why we're here today.
Yeah, no, perfect. And please, you're kind of got the reins here. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to offer to the people that were maybe affected by it. And then if anything you want to add other than that, by all means. Like I said, I'm kind of giving the floor to you. And like I said, guys, there's links in the description below to access any of the information. If you guys don't know, and I guess a little bit more of an introduction on JP is, he's here to be sort of an opportunity for people. If you have issues, if you're part of any big rugs and stuff, the whole idea is to have somewhere where you can go and find hope, find solutions, find at least actions that you can take. But unfortunately, most of the power is in you guys as individuals' hands. And you guys have to choose whether you want to go that extra mile to help do whatever is needed. But JP can at least help guide you in the direction, I guess. Is that all fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? Each case is very different to
yes.
Every case is different to one another. So sometimes, there's not much we can do, unfortunately, and other times there are things that we can do. And even if we can't help, we can point in the right direction. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
Okay.
please do give us a lowdown on what's, I guess, available to Quopi victims, and what the next steps are if they wanted to try and take action, or at least attempt something. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody should have any glorifying hope that funds will come back to you. But if you want to take action, I think there's definitely, if there's an opportunity to, I think it's great if we can. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what this moment represents is kind of like a pivot in terms of, okay, we've built up a network over the past 2 years, that this company has been built in such a manner that our network actually reached out to us, in terms of rug pull finder, Nick over there, and they worked closely with Berwick Law for some time, and so those two actually approached me about this particular case. But leading up to it, it started around January last year, Quopi, and it was pumping out between 0.5% and I think I've seen some documentation that said 4%, upwards of 4% per day. It very rarely skipped a beat, and for all intentions, money talks, right? And so people start talking to one another, people start roping other people in, and I know there's literally groups of friends who got into Quopi, and I even remember somebody telling me that they're a professional who they see on a regular basis informed them about Quopi, and so this really reached out, I would say, outside of the DeFi sphere. I think it started to, really reach into families who had nothing to do with crypto, right? And so it was going for some time. Just to put it into context, the initial, I'm going to call it the initial rug pull, happened early December, but up to that point, especially the last couple of months, the TVL, if you can call it, that's not technically that, but you could see that just increasing and increasing, and people depositing more and more and more and more, and it got up to, I think, at least 2 million, and that's at any one time. Remember that people are depositing and withdrawing every day on this thing, so it's going to be a whole lot more than that.
Well, and when we see things last as long as it did, that, yeah, you're right, and that's when all of a sudden people start going, "Oh my gosh, this has been lasting this long. It must be amazing." And then all the naysayers all of a sudden start jumping on board, and that's when you get hurt. And like you said, then friends are starting to invite friends and going, "My gosh, this has been working so long, guys. It's time for you guys to all get in." And they all rush in, and then boom, this happens. So yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. And we actually called it Quopi out a couple of weeks before they pulled that rug, just because we spotted some on-chain suspicious activities that was linked to previous rug pulls. That technically was to do with Paycasa, which is a payment service provider that Quopi used. But then when you dig deeper on Paycasa, there's no AML, which is anti-money laundering. There's no KYC requirements. And so if you look at all the different projects that Paycasa have put on, there have been so many rinse and repeat rug pulls. It's ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
Like, I think there's even, I have a video somewhere where I scrolled through them all, and I checked the data on them all. There's one, so like, when you pull up a website and you know what the website looks like, let's say a red background with black logos, right?
Yeah.
There is this one same format website that's been used about a dozen times, 12 times, just change the name, different rug pull, change the name, different rug pull. And it's ridiculous, right? And what was also interesting is that a lot of these different websites all had companies registered in the UK, which is really odd. They all had the same service providers, like DDoS Guard, which is a Russian-based service provider, let's say. So there's a lot of weird things happening. That's why we called it out and say, folks, you need to be careful of this. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, they quote unquote experienced a hack, which was by their service provider, DDoS Guard. So figure that one out.
Yeah.
So after that point, I said, okay, I'm not prepared to just stand down on this one. The tactics were incredible. Like the guys marketing Quopi, frankly, were really good marketeers, right? They had amazing graphics. The website looked really cool. They had a Play Store app on Google Play Store. They was even their marketing even extended to exhibitions around the world. So there's a Dubai one, I think there was an Australia one. I don't think Quopi was ever present, but they certainly sponsored other companies like CoinStore, and they certainly had a news article by News BTC as well. So the marketing was
not to pass shade, and sorry to interrupt, but I was remembering watching one video in particular where somebody was, and I won't start naming names and stuff, everybody I'll probably know anyways, but somebody was using all of these events and a token and an app for a phone, and they were using all these things as reasons why they won't rug, giving even people more confidence in it, which was just ridiculous. I mean, I was listening to it wanting to yell at the screen going, no, that just means they're trying to jockey themselves up to say they're legit, to bring more people in, to screw more people, which is obviously what happened, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and they had so Quopi was, so this is like October, November. There was present in Dubai, there was present in the Dubai twice actually, and then Melbourne. But each one of them, there's people at those events who filmed it and said, hey, look, it's legit, they're here. But really, they just sponsored people who was there. Now, so December 4th happened, and then they literally went silent for 7 days. And in that 7 days, we announced that we're going to do an investigation on Quopi. And then 7 days later, they came back and said, okay, we're not really gone. What we're going to do is we did get hacked. We need to change service providers, which was DDoS guard. And that's a really important statement at this point, because they then laid out the foundations for a restart, which would have been 4th of January. And at that restart, the promise was you're going to start getting your withdrawals back. In reality, what happened was waves, quote unquote, waves of people was allowed to withdraw smaller amounts, again instilling confidence that these withdrawals were allowed, so people would ape in more. And it is human nature for people to want to earn money passively and things like that. I get that, but at this point that was really dangerous.
They almost want to put blinders on to seeing logic when they think they have enough time, and that's what creates a lot of our problems, right? Is we all have this greed, and then all these different things happen, and we find excuses as to why we will win this time, as opposed to looking at it with eyes saying, maybe this is a sign that it's not going to happen, and we run in blinded and just lose money.
Yeah, it's unfortunately true. I did run a poll around that sort of time just before the relaunch, just saying, how many of you are going to put back in? And I can't remember the exact number, but I remember I was staggered by it, because for me it was so plain. It was very obvious, but I get how it might have fooled other people. I really do understand that, and I hope they didn't, but I'm pretty sure some people did. Absolutely. I was just looking for
very unfortunate.
Looking for the poll, but I can't find it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There was a percentage of people anyway. So what was also weird at that point was they got hacked supposedly allegedly by DDoS guard. Yet when they struck back up on the 4th of January, the hosting provider was still DDoS guard.
Yeah.
Weird. So we was again flashing beacon lights. Guys, if these were truly hacked, would you use the same service provider, right? And then lo and behold, a few days later, you get a couple of excuses from the Quopi announcements channel saying, yes, it's because X, Y, and Z. And frankly, it was laughable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then there has been nothing since, really, right?
Yeah, so they literally just packed up shop, and there's been no communication since. There is actually a Quopi refund website. It's not Quopi. It is some people just trying to scam more people, where you've got to deposit 20 or 30% of your initial, then they'll send you money back. They will not send you money back. So don't.
Oh my gosh. And unfortunately, again, because you're saying people that are not educated in DeFi, they're going to fall for those kind of things. Unfortunately, as maddening as that is, that people would give more money to get money back. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I'm sure people are still doing.
It's not. Yeah, maybe a lack of awareness, but at the same time, you have to remember, and I see this every day, victims, when they've had a lot of money stolen or something like that, are very vulnerable. Yeah. Very. Yeah. And what happens is that scammers know that. Scammers are really clever people. The professionals at this, they do this day in, day out.
Yeah.
They will target you because they know that you're vulnerable. And, you know, here's a story. A couple of years back, no, probably 14 months ago, something like that, I was helping a guy here in the UK who had £250,000, so about maybe $320,000 worth of Bitcoin stolen on a fake trading platform. And, you know, he had all that money stolen. Once he'd realized that it was a scam because he couldn't withdraw, guess what? Somebody targeted him because details are out in the dark market or whatever. And these individuals said, yeah, we can guarantee a return on all your money. Bearing in mind, it's a lot of money, right? But you need to pay us 20 grand. What did he do? He paid the 20 grand. He never got that back either. Now, that case is actually, you know, that went to courts and things. And, you know, I won't talk into too much more detail, but the point is scammers will target vulnerable people. And so tactics like that, where 20%, it's like 20%, you're going to pay 20% extra to get like 80% back. And it's quite enticing for vulnerable victims to do that. But that is the perfect tactic to get you to pay more, right? That is like the icing on the cake for them. So it is a scam, unfortunately. Quopi are not coming back. If they do, it is because of what's likely to happen in the future with the civil route. So we took this case on, and I just said to the community, look, I'm going to explore both routes here. We've got lots of contacts with law enforcement. We know multiple lawyers around the world. I'm just going to reach out to everybody and see what sticks. So we do know that in some countries, law enforcement have said no, it's not, you know, part of their jurisdiction. They're not able to carry out the investigation. Other jurisdictions is different. I'm not going to go into that yet because I've not announced anything. But certainly on a civil route, that has stuck. Okay, there's a law firm in the United States called Berwick Law. And to get to their website, it's berwick.law, BURWICK.law. Now, these are the guys who've been working with Rug Pull Finder for some time. As I said, they reached out to me and was talking to me about the Quopi case. And because we started the investigation, a lot of people was very generous to share their data with us in terms of helping us understand the deposit wallet so we can track things on chain and things like that. We've got so much data. And thank you to everybody who contributed that data, because without that, we won't be where we are today. So we've got a list of like 293 people. That's by no stretch of the imagination everyone, but it's you know, a huge number, enough to document and to send out to civil and criminal authorities to pique interest, right? And that was the purpose of collecting that data. So I would say what the opportunity is right now for Quopi victims, and you do not have to take this route, okay? I want to be really clear with that. You can obviously go speak to your local lawyers, local law enforcement, and things like that. And by the way, if you do reach out to your local law enforcement and they do come to your door, or, you know, give you a phone call or something, drop me an email at admin@intelligenceonchain.com with the details of the officer, and I will send them a pack of information about Quopi. Okay, that's something that I'm prepared to do. Because we're still exploring the criminal routes, right? So please, if anyone does that, let me know, and we'll support that fully, 100%. So on the civil front, because we got all that data, Berwick Law looked at the case, looked at what was being marketed on a daily basis. Yep, today we made 2.5%, we made 1.8%. and the tactics behind it, and frankly, the contract arrangement, or at least the way that Quopi operated, seems to be eligible for a unregistered securities type of case. Okay, and so Berwick assessed this with sort of 10 other projects, I think, and this came out on top of their priorities in terms of this is a case we want to go for next, which is great news. Now, there's a couple of things to do. You've got to go sign up on the Berwick Law website, which is berwick.law/intake-Quopi. Maybe I can put that in chat a little bit later, where you can share your information. You do have to share your legal name and things. Obviously, this is IRL, lawyers and things. Then you're going to get some terms. What I would say is read through everything carefully, okay? You need to make a decision that's right for you. All I'm saying is there's an opportunity here to explore this with them. There are a few terms that you really should just become familiar with. I've not read those terms myself. I'm not a victim, so I've not gone onto the website and filled out the form. So please just read everything carefully before you make any decisions. And of course, feel free to go and compare that with any sort of local lawyer to you or something like that. What I would say, though, is because of the data that we collected and because of the way that we push this case, this is certainly seems to be sticking with Berwick Law in terms of their running with it, which is great. What the outcome will be is really hard to predict right now, and that's going to be the same in any case. There's no case that you can go to and say, yeah, this is nailed on, you're going to get your money back and things like that. However, the upfront risk is relatively minimal in that this is a contingency based arrangement, which basically means that Berwick Law are prepared to invest their own money into the case to push this through the courts and things like that, and they would take their fee on the back end once assets have been recovered. So in theory, nothing comes out of your pocket up front. However, you will be, you won't get back the full amount. There will be a certain amount that's allocated to these lawyers,
which is normal for these kind of cases, anyways, in regular TradFi kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and again, if the case isn't won, there's nothing for you to pay. Okay, that's an investment that they're going to make, and if it doesn't win, there's nothing that comes back on you. There's no fees or anything like that, that's very typical, right, in a contingency based framework from a lawyer perspective. So really the purpose of me reaching out to you and a couple of other YouTubers is just to say there's some options here. And all I'm saying really to the victims is just consider, don't stand down, don't roll over, stand up against these guys and push for something, whether it's Berwick Law or not. Go to your police department, report it. Go to your local lawyer, report it. Just on this particular case, we're starting to get traction now. So, I'd love it if people would take a stand with us. But yeah, everyone's free to do their own thing.
Absolutely, and I agree. But the big thing here, and like you say, is the fact that we actually have legal entities involved. That gives a pretty darn big leg up compared to anything else we've been involved in. Ben does ask, and I'm assuming not, but do we know, is there any known organizers of all of this, or are the legal teams attacking the known entities like the website key people as being kind of co-conspirators or anything?
So today, the organizers are not known. Okay, just for complete transparency there. The bonus of having, and by the way, I don't know what the exact tactics of Berwick Law are going to be. Okay, but what I'm surmising is, these guys are lawyers, right? And what you can do from a lawyer perspective or law perspective is you can subpoena. So it's not just police who can subpoena for information, like request information from exchanges. And by the way, Quopi did use an exchange, Gate.io.
Okay.
But there's also other ways and means that you can obtain information as well. So they've got their own investigation team. I think they've got some partnerships as well who, specialize in this sort of thing. So whilst
And
they're not known today, what they're basically saying is we're prepared to invest our money to find out who they are.
yeah, and obviously they wouldn't want to do so if they didn't have some insight or some at least knowledge of something. Like they've got to know something, otherwise they wouldn't be wasting this money. Lawyers do not waste money on anything if they can avoid it. And this is not a small law firm, if I'm understanding correctly, either. So I mean, again, they're not going to take on cases. I mean, yeah, there's the publicity of it, I guess, if you will, but that's not going to get them too much benefit if they don't find some way to find a solution to the problem, I guess. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, these are smart people, I would say. And Max, I've spoke to Max, the founder. We had a chat with Rug Pull Finder in our own podcast the other day. Nice. On Thursday. But with Max and the Berwick team, I want to get an AMA together with them, because obviously the community's got a lot of questions, and this is new. I wouldn't say this is brand new. Like, this is not the first time this has happened in the space, but the concept of this type of action happening is very infrequent, very rare. Yeah. So naturally people are like, oh, okay, well, this is different. What do I do? Well, ask questions is the first thing, right? And Berwick have all of the contact details on the website. Please reach out to them, ask any question. Don't worry about how stupid it may sound or anything like that. That's what their job is to make it really clear to you about what this process is going forward. And again, you can do that with any lawyer.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So if people are interested in going a little further, this website that you've given me, is this sort of where they can go as one option? And obviously your other option you were saying is going to local authorities of any kind. I mean, I'd pardon me, sorry. I wonder how much value that adds in the most part, but I mean, I guess you'd know better than I've always, I mean, even when I've been hit with some of this stuff, I've been like, okay, what's the point in going to my local police? They're just going to laugh at me, aren't they? So I guess from your experiences, is there what kind of value can they get out of that?
Yeah, I mean, so going slightly off topic a little bit, but I think this is really important to discuss. So going individually to like a law firm or a law enforcement entity, you're right. That sometimes they don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah. Right. It's relatively new technology. I know police here in the UK are undermanned. They are under a lot of pressure. Serious crimes are happening every day, and sometimes it's just not a priority for them. I know that from previous cases. The jurisdiction that you're in is really important as well. I've had most success in the US with the FBI and various entities around the US, but there are places in the world where you will really struggle to go to your local police station. I've spoken to victims in, I think one was in Greece, and basically the police just laughed at him and don't know what you're talking about. Can't help. It's international, and that can be a blanket answer from people. Some countries have annoying sort of reporting systems that you have to go through. UK is one of them. You have to report it to Action Fraud and then go to your local police, and then the NFIB will come to you and say no, and then you have to go through the rings again. Sometimes it can be really annoying, but the fact is most crimes, especially crypto crimes, go unreported, and that's because a lot of people are just accepting of it. But the problem with that is if we're not reporting it, these entities who are publishing these huge reports don't know how big the issue is. And let's be honest, in DeFi, it's dreadful, right? It's horrendous. That's why we're doing what we're doing, to be honest. But if you go collectively like that, I've got a 19-page overview of what happened with Quopi that I can send out to law enforcement. And that takes you through the whole story. And it includes 293 victims and 2.3, maybe even $2.4 million now. That sticks much more, or has much more chance of sticking compared to, an individual. Having said that, if, a group of people know each other and they want to band together, that could have a similar impact at a local level, right? But to your point, it might not be as effective I get that. But
Mhm.
people might want to choose that route. You know, if they want to go to a local lawyer, family lawyer used for many years, I've got no issues with that. You know, people should go do what's right for them.
Okay.
Yeah. So every option's open, I think, for these victims.
Okay. So I guess what's the best plan of attack, I guess, first, and then we can obviously, like you said, there is options, which is great. So if that's not the best plan of attack, is that going to this website to start with then, or?
So I'm just going to pull up the law. I'm going to send you the link in a second. I just want to make sure
Sure.
I get
And
the
you can
link
share
right.
screen if it's easier for you, whatever works for you. You can
That's all
share
right.
any links in the private chat. So
Yeah. So here is the link. But by the way, you can go to intelligenceonchain.com, ask as many questions as you want. You know, we're here to help. You come into Discord, that's where our biggest community is, and everyone's willing to help. So if you've got any question, don't matter how silly it may seem to you or insignificant, please come and ask. But
yeah, and you guys really are fantastic and very what's the word I'm thinking of? Very easygoing, I guess, about it all. Is yeah, you're right. There's no wrong answer. I know a lot of people feel silly maybe when these things happen to them or whatever, but the lack of a global term, the we're all in this together kind of thing, that's really true. And then in this environment, in your Discord or in your home kind of thing, there's really that's really the best spot to do that because you're surrounded by people that have been affected by this stuff. So I do urge you guys to head over to his Discord and be involved there. So I guess what we're seeing here, and this makes sense now that I'm seeing this, I should have realized. So anybody that's been affected, the easiest thing and best thing for them to do then would be to fill this in. This allows them, I presume, to get on the list with Berwick Law, and that way, if there is a payout, they are becoming part of that payout, right?
How the payout works, I'm not totally sure. I don't have the technical detail of that. That's something that if you're on board as a client with Berwick, they'll take you through. What I do know, though, is once you fill this out, you will get a letter from Berwick, which lays out the terms of service and things like that. Again, read that, take the time to read that through properly, understand that, make a decision on whether that's right for you or not.
Yeah.
But this is the portal to go to register as a victim of Quopi.
Okay. Perfect. So this is your first step, and then if you choose to, you can go to your local file informant. If you do that, then you can also reach out to yourself via email through that admin email that I put up above in the chat, and then you'll send information to the case file, I guess, basically to give it some merit, some power. Is there anything else people should be thinking about, or any other options people should possibly consider if they so choose to?
I would always recommend reporting it to the police, regardless of if that gets taken on or not, because the data is always going to help. There is some another portal on Berwick Law that you can submit evidence on. I can't remember the exact link, and I should know that, to be honest. But regardless, you can submit it on our website. There's plenty of submit forms. You can just use any of them to submit any information. We had some great ones today and yesterday. So any information like that's always going to get forwarded on to them. We'll ask if if the person who sent that to us would like to remain anonymous, or we can share their details as well. So we try to not leave any stone unturned. We'll try to forward everything on. So yeah, just ask away, ask any questions, and we're there to support.
Awesome. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to get across to everybody? Any other information other than that? I guess we've kind of covered it all. But anything else before we let everybody go?
No, I think that's the main thing. I'd love it if people come along and started interacting with the community. Overall, my vision for the community is that the whole community stands up against these bad actors. I think we're decades away from that yet, but
yeah, unfortunately, but
one day maybe.
We got to start somewhere, right? So I agree, and having a spot like this where it's not, because I've seen other people try and take up the mantle as you've done, but my issue with most of them is none of them have taken it up with dignity and with, normally it's with anger, and unfortunately pitchforks don't necessarily help. That's just white noise in this kind of situation. It's action and ways of being empathetic to the people that are coming to you and not making them fearful of making choices. It's about giving them the information and letting them come to their own terms of what they want to do, because it's like grieving. It's like anything like this kind of stuff. There's a certain acceptance and there's phases almost to what people are feeling when they get hit with something like this. And so I appreciate how you go about it in your community, and I urge everyone to be involved in a community like that will help everyone grow and learn together, as opposed to just being almost attacking. In some cases, I've seen a lot of these communities, as opposed to active, I guess. I don't know. That's a quick little babble there, but yeah. So I appreciate you, and obviously I was very happy to bring you on to have this chat and conversation. I guess that's about it. I'm trying to think of anything else, but
yeah, nothing else from my end. It's
awesome.
just I just wanted to share a couple of different options with people, and yeah, if they're free to do what they want, but as long as they know about the options, that's the key thing for me. So thank you very much for the time. Thanks for putting me up, and yeah, appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, guys. So you have all your kind of plans of action. All the links are in the description below if you need them, as well as obviously, like I said, going to his Discord, going to any of that stuff. So take some time, do what's right for you. But at the same token, some action is better than nothing. And if nothing else, this Berwick Law website is pretty darn easy for you to do, and at least it gets you involved in being informed if you were a victim of Quopi. So thanks so much for joining us. And other than that, have you guys yourselves a great week.